Hi there. Thank you everyone for logging in. And wherever you are, good afternoon, good morning, good evening as applicable. And to start with, I have to say this, though it may not sound politically correct, I love resignations. Not that I want people who work for me to leave, but that's the business I am in. Being in recruitment industry for the last 2 decades, I believe me and my peer group in this industry have caused enough resignations. Though we pride ourselves saying we put millions of people to work. The employers that I work for have possibly facilitated millions of jobs to deserving people, lifted careers of many, many more. But at the end of the day, till somebody resigns and joins another company, unless they're a fresher, we are causing a resignation. And that's how the recruitment industry models work. And being proud to be part of this industry. And I can't take away the fact that we've caused millions of resignations. And this year, we are saying that is a year of resignation throughout the world. And we believe almost a million people will resign in just the IT industry. So, how many homes now, not offices, today must be actually buzzing with the word resignation? This is also the first week of the month, remember? And first week of the month, Fridays are the days when, from a timing point of view, we end up resigning. So, how must it be in many homes today when we are getting those emails, WhatsApps, calls saying, boss, I quit? So, in that context, I thought we should reflect a few of experiences that, if you have to share, put it in the comments and look forward to reflect on some of them. For me, like I said, in just though I did say that I do love to accept resignations, but when it happens to me, I do really feel sad, and I look up and say, "What goes around comes around." That's the only way to sort of get around this, isn't it? And also, I think this is the luckiest phase for resignations. Think of it. You don't have to meet anyone to change jobs this year. You don't have to go to office to inform people or in-person information. You don't have to even go to office for that awkward handovers or that awkward send-offs, if at all, and that uh, possibly exit interview if it happens in person. There's so much of awkwardness this year has taken care of by itself thanks to the pandemic. All you have to do is voila, change your email id. You log into another account, another screen, and if you're lucky, you have 50 or 80% or at least 30% higher salary in the same room, same seat overnight, right? So that's why I call it the luckiest phase of resignations. But still, I thought it's always good to start with disclaimers, and I keep saying that दूध का धुला हुआ नहीं हूँ. So I've also resigned in the past till I came and sat on the seat. I resigned 4 times as an employee, and I was calculating for myself what is my percentage of Kabhi Kushi Kabhi Gham. I stand at 50%. Yes, in my assessment, I don't know if it was 100 from the other side, but my guess is first time when I resigned, it was in person, and I guess my boss was eager to see me go, so it was not a pleasant resignation. So I guess he must have been happy. I wasn't. It took 6 months for me to get the better of it. So uh, that's maybe the cushy for him and gum for me, kind of a resignation. The second time I resigned, my boss came home, and after 1 hour of kind of an awkward conversation, he left unhappily, and uh, clearly, so that was twice that I had to be in person resign, unlike many of you lucky out there who didn't have to face your boss. Of course, the other 2 times I don't have a guess, but I presume, again, I say it 50% for the reason that once I was overseas while I resigned, so I didn't know what was the other side, but I heard possibly a sign of, let down, if at all I have to, capture it for how I heard it as. So the other side, the last time I resigned, my boss was overseas, so I really don't know what the reaction was. So it was easy for me to resign the last 2 times because it was on phone and didn't have to face the person. But my guess is out of 4 resignations, it is a 50% of the times I believe my bosses were not happy, they felt let down. 50% of the times there must have been a relief, is what I'm thinking. Right. So with that disclaimer, it's always good to talk about where I stand and how I think my resignations have been accepted. I want to sort of get to the emotions of resignations. And want to start with the Gham resignations, because that's the predominant emotion, isn't it? And I think, in my view, we get upset, or we feel bad, or whatever are those, different emotions of not so happy, comes from various state of mind for ourselves. I think the first one that I can think of is surprise. Some of us are so dumb that we don't get it that the people who are reporting to us are going to resign, and not all of us manage surprises well. Yeah, it's good to have a birthday surprise party, and we all like those gifts that people give without telling us. But imagine a resignation, and I think when it is a surprise, not all of us handle us as well, and the natural reaction comes out. I remember one of my colleagues once said, "I'm joining a media company." And my boss looked at him and said, "Cha, as a newsreader." He was so upset that he couldn't hold his sarcasm. He said, "As a newsreader." So obviously the guy felt bad. What am I thinking of myself? So, and after that, though, we did send offs and everything. I don't think they ever spoke after that because of that comment. So our natural reactions give away. Some of us say things that we don't intend to. I believe one of my friends was sharing me recently. He changed the job after 2 decades, and when he resigned, his founder said, "You're being shortchanged." Why? Because he got a 40% higher offer. So I believe the founder was almost hinting for changing a job after 2 decades. Maybe, I don't know. You should have got a higher offer than that. God only knows. But your natural reactions actually put you off, or rather puts off the people who are resigning. And I can think of one more reaction when one of my friends resigned. His boss said, "What salary are you getting?" I think he was at some 25, 30 lakhs. Then he said, "They pay me 75 lakhs." That's all. you know so then, in just he sort of said, "Will you match that?" He didn't talk about it at all after that, right? But we have these natural reactions where we don't know what we say, and in that moment we say things which sort of, I think, makes it very awkward. Maybe not for us, we're the supervisor, we feel entitled to say whatever we want. But in that relationship, we always, we know that this relationship between a supervisor and a reportee is like a one up, one down many a times. That's at least how we behave. And in that context, we end up saying things as though you're, sort of doing something which is unacceptable to me. And mostly it comes out of a surprise. Sometimes I think the displeasure comes from the untimeliness. For example, you are in the middle of a project, you have deployed somebody to a customer location, and the person resigns. What do you tell a customer? And some of them don't even give notice. They said 1 month, take it or leave it. Some of them even offer to buy back the notice period because somebody else is willing to buy. So you feel really short. And after working for such a long time, somebody is sort of wanting to go overnight. Kya ho gaya types? I have a project in hand, don't you get it? Kind of stuff. I remember we had a project once, and there's 2 more months to go to complete the project with a customer, and somebody resigned saying, "I have to leave in 15 days. If I don't join, I won't get the joining bonus. I won't get the next cycle's increment. I won't be part of it." So you want to be good to the person who worked with you. At the same time, the person doesn't want to keep the commitment that we have with the customer. So what do you do? So I'm sure our natural reactions come out in different ways. Either we stop talking or we get angry. So I think this is the second one in my view. Surprise takes us away. Second is the untimeliness. I don't know if there is a right time to resign, because people get opportunities in a certain time and they have to take it, and they think that's the best time to leave. So what do you do, right? For me, the third trigger which possibly causes unhappiness, if at all, is the optics of it. I remember I joined one company once, and on day one, a senior colleague had resigned. He was my DR, and he had never met me before. First day breakfast, he said, "I'm resigning." And I'd heard of the guy, and when you join, you get the briefing about the senior leadership team, and I had heard great things about him, and I was looking forward to it, and I was stunned. And all I could ask is, "Kya ho gaya?" And he said, "Look, so far till you came, though we didn't have a boss, I ran the show. And when I ran the show, it was like I was the king out here, though most of them were peers to me. But after you coming, I know that overnight the reins you take over, and I'll be like anybody else. I can't handle this." I thought it was fair enough from his point of view, but I somewhere felt it was not a great sign, at least if I had to use the word optics, that somebody is running on day one. What does it tell? And in one of the companies I worked, I remember the CEO's batchmate who had worked with him for almost 10, 15 years in the company resigned. it was the first senior resignation in that place. And after that, it sort of became easy for people to sort of say that, okay, I will resign, because no senior guys really had resigned from as far as I can remember. And suddenly, when the CEO's best friend resigned, it sort of opened the door for many others to, or rather, it became it easier. For me, I think sometimes we get upset because of the optics of it. Uh, uh, One of the things that I can remember is two of the senior colleagues once resigned same day, and we had to make an announcement. And when I asked my HR, he said, "I don't mind they going, but announcing the same day, it's not good for optics. Sometimes we worry so much about the optics than the real situation that we have at hand." So so I think the optics also makes us feel bad. That how do we actually even communicate this? Of course, the predominant feeling that I have experienced myself and seen around, heard from people, are about feeling let down. This is a common feeling, and let down is a uh, very loaded term, but I guess most of you can relate to what I'm saying. The letdown can happen in many ways. One experience I can remember when I was overseas is in some of the countries, there's this practice, especially in manufacturing setups. They used to take the passports of employees that they were employing. So he was an engineer who had come from India and was employed in a particular place. And as you know, in foreign countries, you need to have a passport, visa with you, and even for you to change the job or leave the country, you need the passport. So as the first condition, though it was not legal, but you want a job, you come all the way from India, so they used to surrender passports. And this gentleman had his passport with him, and he was almost like there till possibly that employer will ever let him go, right? So he was unhappy, but he was stuck in that place. He didn't have a passport to get out. So somehow we gave him another job offer, and we pulled some strings, uh, got him out of that place. He took his passport, went out of the country, came back, joined us, worked with us for 6 months. He really did well, and resigned. It was a shocker. I mean, like, I felt, at least personally, I felt that I did everything to get him out of the hole. Got him out of the country, got him back, and 6 months he resigns. How does it feel? That and as I was going, home that day, I asked him to get onto my car and driving, and his boss came to me and said, "Kamal, somehow ask him to stay. We have done so much for these guys. Please ask him to stay." And I think in my entire career, against my own philosophy, at the end of that trip, as I was dropping off, I asked him, "Please stay back, because your boss wants me to ask you this, so I'm asking, please stay back." He smiled and went away. And next day he came and said, obviously, he's moving on. And I think in my memory, that was the last time I ever asked anybody to stay, because I really feel that asking somebody to stay after they resigned is not in the right place. So that is how I used to behave, and it's still my philosophy that if somebody resigns, you accept. How I react is a different thing, but at least you accept so that you can move on. But that was the experience I had where I felt really let down. I don't know what I was thinking. Sometimes we take our own positions, roles so seriously that if somebody resigns, we think it's a crime. We thought we gave him or her a job, we did a big favor, and that's the employer entitlement mindset, I guess. And that was not the first time that I felt let down, but that was one example that stays in my head, because I thought हमने इतना किया इसके लिए, and he still resigned. Uh, Clearly, I remember one of the colleagues was so upset that her team member had resigned. So I said, "Kya ho gaya?" She said, "Look, just about 15 days ago, she fought so much for her increment. So we went back to HR, got another a revision offer letter to her, and gave her. And I think she has used this to get a better offer." That sounds familiar, right? And the manager was rightfully upset that clearly somebody negotiated internal salary and went out and took another offer and resigned. So I guess there are many examples like this. I'm sure you can think of places where you have fought for somebody, retained them, and they come back and resign again. So you feel let down. And I guess these letdowns can happen both ways. But today we're talking about accepting resignation. So I'll stick to the managerial point of view, if you allow me. Sometimes it's also about the mode, of how we resign. I remember it was the days of BlackBerry, And I was hiring someone, and I was putting pressure on the gentleman, saying, "You have to join me. You have to join me. Did you resign? You got the offer. Did you resign?" Kind of stuff. He's saying, "Today is my meeting with my boss, and once I talk to her, I will sort of come and communicate to you if I resign." So it was evening, and then he said, "Yeah, I will resign." So next day, I got a call from one of my friends there and said, "Your friend has, texted and resigned." So then I called him. I said, "Is that so? Did you resign? Did you text and resign, or you told your boss?" He said, "Look, till evening I waited. She was busy. She said, then I can only see you tomorrow." And I said, "This is regarding, my decision." And in spite of that, she didn't give me time, and you were putting pressure. So मैंने अपना BlackBerry निकाला, I emailed. But those days BlackBerry messages and SMSs were considered equivalent. So she really felt angry that he resigned over a text. So though he still claims with me that he emailed, but the whole organization got to know and kept saying that, "Kamal, your guy resigned over a text." So I think the mode actually angered her, and many a times I think the mode still angers many of us. When you get that, you wake up in the morning and you see that WhatsApp saying "boss I quit" or whatever nice way we all write. I think emails, WhatsApps are not the modes in which at least there is an implicit understanding. We feel that people should, "Arey yaar, call to kar lete." We didn't even have the courtesy to call, right? But possibly we can't relate to the fear or the lack of trust we have generated with the person, that he or she couldn't actually pick up the phone and tell us that they want to resign. That awkwardness, we can't relate to it, but we feel entitled that they have to tell us, right? And the mode, I think, really irritates many of us. Imagine going missing in action. On the first of the month, you get your salary. Some people just take out the SIN, or maybe block your number. They just go missing, right? Because somebody else has asked them to join the next day. That mode really irritates many of us. That when you resign, how you resign, the first of the month when you resign, you feel, "अच्छा, इसके लिए wait करे थे, इतना भी trust नहीं था," right? So I think many of us get angry because of the mode. That's why accepting resignation in that the way it happened becomes very, very difficult. If I'd really stretch it a little, I'd say some of us, I have a feeling, also get jealous when somebody working with us resigns. You know, uh, One of the customers I was speaking to had a resignation, and the person who had resigned was handing over to his boss in that call with me. And in front of him, he started to say, "Look, in my company today, B players are getting A plus offers in the market." I mean, like, I can't even think of it, and they're getting double the offer. And the guy was just there, and I had all the feeling that he was hinting towards him, but it could just be uh, he was just taunting and he was unhappy. But sometimes I feel the jealousy gets the better of us, and we say whatever we want to say at that point of time. And sometimes I'm sure you must be experiencing this at this point of time, where people must be getting higher offers than the bosses, right? So, and you must be thinking, "Isko kaun itna tanka deta hai?" We get skeptical, we get cynical, and the guys who are done with us, and we're thinking they'll go and hit sixes elsewhere. That really upsets us, and we get jealous. So I think these are some of the pieces that I think I'm stretching as jealous, but I'm sure that's an emotion also which makes us feel bad when somebody leaves us. And clearly when they go to competition, even more, even more. We get jealous after we come to know where they're going. I think if they tell us, it becomes even more infuriating for many of us. At the same time, I also think the suspense, if they don't tell us, we'd be wondering, they इतना साल काम किया, कहाँ जा रहे वो भी नहीं बताया. We get upset about that also. Where are they going? And of course, there are people give different reasons. Some of us say, "I'm taking a break. I want to think. I'm doing this. I'm going for higher education." Purely because I'm sure they don't have the comfort to tell us, or that's who they are. Various reasons. Uh, Clearly, you can either blame your own company's culture, or you can say, that you have not given the trust to the person that they can actually confide in you comfortably, that I'm going and joining so and so person. So there's so many things going around us that it does not allow people to be honest and tell us, "This is where I'm going, boss. So please accept my resignation. So that suspense also makes us feel bad. Yeah, itna saal kaam kiya and didn't even have the courtesy to tell me where he or she is going. And some of us said, soch na, teen offer hai. And they'll take some three names which possibly are wrong names or maybe the right names, but they would be joining the fourth company, right? So that even antagonizes many of us. Ki bataya nahi. Uh, I personally think, though I felt like an idiot listening to that I have three offers, but they'll end up in the fourth one. But I think you can't blame them because that's the experience they have of your organization, or that's the experience possibly we have given to them, that that we can't be trusted with the truth that they have. But one example I remember is somebody narrated this to me, that they had a team meeting, and in the first half of the meeting, there's some angry exchanges with one of the people, reportees in the meeting. And the manager said, okay, afternoon, after the lunch, I will take care of this guy. I need to really, possibly bring him to book on these fronts, hold him responsible, accountable for these things. Second half, the guy comes and resigns. The emotion there is angry. He said, I got so angry, I was usko kuch keh bhi nahi paya. I had so much to say, and the guy resigns. So sometimes the emotions of the gum, if I have to call them, are, the reasons are many. We get angry, we don't know where they're going. The suspense infuriates us. We feel let down. The mode in which they resigned actually, makes us angry. We feel jealous, if I have to say that. The optics is something we're uncomfortable. Untimely, the customer is looking at the saying up, aadmi ko nahi rakh pate ho types, and the surprise element, I think, is the biggest one, which takes us, really in surprise, and that, in my view, creates all these reactions, and whatever relation, if at all, we had, and person is resigning, we sort of break it up for the reason that we just didn't react well. I think somewhere we all need to have a good grounding training about how to react when somebody says I quit. I don't think we're good at assimilating those reactions, and I guess nowadays everybody's spared because it happens on phone, and even if it is Zoom, I still think it's we possibly will react less compared to somebody sitting in front of us, is what I'm thinking. And for now, some Kushi wala resignations. When do we get really happy when somebody resigns? I know it sounds very sadistic, but do we get? I guess so. I think sometimes we do. One of the recollections I have is when my colleague came and told me, "Yeah, it's not resign kar diya aaj." And it was such a relief. So I asked, it was what? An open and shut case? He said, yeah, he resigned, and I took the letter, like those were we used to take letters. I took the letter like this and kept it and accepted and gave it back before he changes his mind. He said that, and different ways in which he interpret, being happy. I remember once we were hiring somebody, and the HR guy came running saying, Kamal, you still sure you want to hire him? I said, yeah. He said, look, I asked him to send his resignation letter. This guy resigned at 4:44, and at 4:45 his manager has accepted his resignation and said, maybe wo bhi chahte the ki ye chala jaye. You're sure, he's the kind of guy we want, Of course, he possibly would have told the manager and then sent an email. We don't know what all has happened, but our mind works like this, that maybe a happy wala resignation, and are we getting somebody whom we really should be hiring, right? And of course, there are people with whom we have problematic behaviors. We don't know. We can't look into the eye and say, go. So when they resign, say, acha, chhod diya. No. And for me, sometimes the relationships break down. Not everybody we have great relationships. So though some of them could be important for the organizations, maybe performing well, but they would be those precipitating prickly shirts that we couldn't be handling or wanting to be managing them. And I can think of places where when somebody came and resigned, I said, okay, good. Not good riddance, but at least every day when I looked at the person, I didn't have to feel that I had to deal with this person, right? So clearly, I think when we don't have relations with somebody resigns, we feel, yeah, I think for me, that's a Kushi wala resignation for the reason that, possibly also letting the person go. Maybe they'll go to a better place, happy place, though we don't think like that. But I believe that at least you are happy. And of course, think of people who are not performing well when they resign. Okay, so we don't have to break the bad news to them. So they took care of themselves. Some people are smart; they don't make you wait. They find it themselves. And clearly, when you have competing peers who are there, there is an you feel happy at China, one competition less, so I can climb the top if at all. That's the only way it works in your company. But I think statistically, I have to say this that some resignations which really put a smile on your face is when somebody very close to the boss resigns. How do you react? You know, you ever felt happy, seeing others resign? You boss ke chamche ne chhod di, and you want to see the reaction on the boss's face. Uh, Clearly, there are some of these which is purely sadistic, but has no material relevance. But I think that's also a Kushiwala resignation when such people do that. And of course, there are organization headcounts reduction. You're going through kind of a churn. You are laying off people, and people living on their own. At least gives you that relief that you really don't have to take it in your hands. And some rare situations I think of, which is Kushiwala resignation, would be, let's say you want to promote somebody, but somebody else is a stumbling block, right? And that person will be upset because you're promoting this person for whatever logic. And just at that time, that person resigns, right? I know it's not politically correct, but hota hai ki nahi, right? So then, when it's easy to promote this person. So I think there could be many, but I could think of these contexts of resignations where more from a more than the sadistic kicks that one gets. I don't know if anybody feels happy if anybody resigns, but yeah, we do. And I think we just don't want to deal with certain situations. So when people resign, we say, "Theek hai," that I don't have to deal with this person's situation. So as I'm reflecting on the happier resignations and not so happy resignations, I just want to relate one experience yesterday. I was doing a hiring workshop for a bunch of first-time entrepreneurs who are coming out, just out of their bootstrap status at this point of time. And one of the entrepreneurs shared this input, very valuable. He said, if you have to, and this was, like I said, this is a workshop about hiring. And he said, if you have to get your hiring right, please get your separation right. It is inevitable that your employees will leave. Ensure that you make it easier for them to leave. Your expression, your last few transactions will make them an ambassador. Please get this right, he said. We all know this, but we are natural with our reactions. So uh, when he meant transactions, he obviously was talking about how you allow them to hand over the equipment, how you make it seamless, how do you settle their F&Fs, giving their uh, acceptance letters, relieving letters. We all trouble our going employees one way or the other because there is some part of sadist in us who's jealous, who's feeling let down, who's feeling angry, who's really feeling that it's untimely, or the surprise person in us is reacting, right? So it's a frenzy year of recruiting for all of us, right? And also, so many people are leaving us. Both are coming together for all of us. And I'm just thinking that I want to imagine that people that we are letting go should have the same experience as the people, who are joining us, whom we are trying to provide a better experience so that we make the first impressions right with them. Like day one when they come, what all they should have, who should speak to them, how we should speak to them. When they're going, can we make the same time for them so we can send an ambassador out, then somebody who goes and gives a one rating on Glassdoor, and then you say, "ये तो होना ही था," I know this is difficult, मुश्किल है, but try करें. So now to you, any experiences, reactions that you want to share? I'm just going to the chat box and seeing what some of you have written. Yes, I am fine, Animesh. Rahul, yeah, I'm good. Somebody has written on exit interviews. It's Rangarajan. Yeah, it cuts both ways. I don't know what stay interviews are. I think your regular connect is what people are labeling as stay interviews. Fantastic, but we don't need to give titles for catching up with people, is what I think. And exit interviews is a reflection, in my view, of who the company is and what's relationship we have with the individual. I'm not sure that people who are leaving are entitled to give you the truth. I really stop taking it personally when people don't tell me, thinking that I have not provided enough trust. Though it doesn't feel good, but that's the only way to sleep in the night when somebody doesn't tell you where they're going. Yeah, and Rajan says some use offer to put pressure on a child through the managers. होता है. Why not? Not everybody can be allowed to give the. We see that the kind of retention that's happening in the market today, tells us that we just cannot allow everybody to go through the front door. Suresh says, okay, he had a fight with his wife. Then what? Yeah, I know. There are people who are troublemakers. So when they go, we are happy that balatala, like I said. So yeah, thanks, Suresh. No, Nightingale Rishabh, I don't know what was that about, but nevertheless, I just wanted to share some of my experiences, and of course, like I always say, take it with a pinch of salt for the reason that is my side of the story, and my side of the story is always colored with what is convenient to me. But I'm sure, as you're talking to your team when they resign, and how magnanimously we can leave them is based on what is going in our head. Uh, there's some comments coming, so I just thought I'll attend to them. So let's see. Yeah, I think it talks about both the things, Rangarajan, whether they don't tell where they join or speaks of the organizational culture. Yeah, both. It also talks about my own value system. That if I can't be truthful to the person that I work with, who am I? What's my value system? And of course, it also points to the supervisor and the organization that they've not given me enough trust that I can tell them that where I'm going. Both cuts both ways. Uh, Kedar says, line manager be the same to the person once he resigns until the last day. कहना आसान है करना मुश्किल है कि नहीं. So Rishabh, that's not what I'm here talking about some other time. Thank you very much for logging in and just listening to me. I wish by having this conversation I can be better in accepting resignations. Uh, Nobody's going to be here forever, and people leaving us is inevitable. Can we be magnanimous? I don't know, but I'm sure we can be courteous to people who are leaving us. And this is more a self reminder to myself than sort of giving Gham to anybody else. Thank you, all of you. Have a good time. Stay well.